House. 8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk. 5th of June, 9:43 p.m. So I figure it's time to do a live stream, even though I'm getting started late, as always. Want to check in, see what's happening around the world, what's happening in the news, as well as to get some thoughts on the post I made earlier in reference to the whole UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is about to get some real airplay in the United States again officially as of 2019. So as always, goal is to check in, see what's happening out in the alternative media world. Also, as always, before I dive any further, I want to find out who's joining us, any new viewers, and where you're checking in from. And so have Student of Life. Good evening, Pat. Hello, how you doing, my friend from West Central Indiana? And so also looking to get some thoughts on the whole, what would you do if you had a chance to watch the video I posted earlier? The thoughts is, what would you do if you had the opportunity to be a part of this whole Stockton, California Universal Basic Income launch that's taking place next year with 100 participants that will receive $500 monthly, no strings attached, nothing to it. Just you're going to get paid to basically test a trial. So I want to find out what are some of the things people will buy. So Pat says guaranteed income is communism, plain and simple. I do agree. And so it's amazing how a lot of people may not necessarily see it that way, being that a lot of people look at just the times we're in and the fact that things are so tight financially for a lot of people. And so the idea of getting assistance or getting help is low-key considered some type of regular welfare type of government aid, and that's how it's going to be packaged. And so the very fact that people are willing to accept that lets me know that I would be kind of leery of the whole idea of getting aid from anybody personally, because I read a quote. I think it's let me see, Gerald Ford. It's a quote from former President Gerald Ford I came across last night that mentioned that any government that's too big to promise you whatever you want is also too big or also capable of taking everything that they gave you, or something like that, where it really made me think about the idea that people don't really know what they're asking for when they're asking for government assistance, because they are basically giving their lives over to a much bigger entity in exchange for crumbs that really come at no cost to the government, because all you got to do is just have the central bank print some, and then they borrow that from the central bank. So it's quite interesting. Pat says communism is easier for oligarchs to control society. Very true. A lot of people don't seem to see it that way. So let me see. So dive right in. So the idea is $500 free money, aka of income. And I think from talking about the same subject matter a few months ago, I came up with another name for UBI. Man, I forgot the name of it. It's clever and very, very telling of where we're at, but it'll come to me. If anybody remember from prior months' conversation as to what that Universal Basic, what was it? Universal Basic, man, it was catchy, but it had more to do with actually getting a handout than income, because the idea of income to me represents the idea of people actually getting out and working. But yet, you don't have to work for something that is given to you for free, as if it's really going to be free. It says, this is why Democrats are in favor of keeping society dependent on government handouts. Republicans do it too much, not so much in your face. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's another whole idea, the Democrat-Republican narrative. The fact that people are still talking about a two-party system lets me know that we've been thoroughly conditioned to believe that either one of those parties are actually in our favor, based upon just the historical time frame that we've been under this whole democratic / supposed to be republic type of government system. Neither party really has our best interests at heart, because think about the idea of who is actually in Washington, D.C. They're usually lifetime politicians, in the fact that they make a career off of holding a position in Washington, D.C., and they don't really care much so more about, what actually happens in the future. They're part of the ones that are okay with making promises, knowing that more than likely 10, 15, 20 years when the side effects reveal themselves or show themselves above surface, they more than likely will be out of politics or having switched positions, and their children will probably be running for something or that another. And it all seems to be very heading towards more of a liberalistic and a socialistic approach right now. Just the fact that a lot of people for the Democratic Party was wanting Bernie Sanders, and I actually came across some type of social media thing saying that Bernie Sanders was commending President Maduro down there for all his socialistic type of policies. And so I'm thinking, like, I'm not sure if that was true or not, but just the mere fact alone, that the idea that the democracy and was what we see today is more socialistically based, and it's very loose in regards to how people actually view it. I mean, they're for it. So, yeah. Said Bernie Sanders, Bernie drives an Audi. By, let's see, $500 US per month seems like massive inflation. Yeah, ultimately, Shalom, actually it will be as time goes on. But for this initial trial here, this is privately funded by a philanthropist, Chris Hughes, who's a co-founder of Facebook. And so the question is, what is his ultimate goal in starting this initiative? Because regardless of what the evidence reveals itself to actually prove, it's going to show that people, like always, whenever something is given to them, never truly appreciate it. It's hard to appreciate things that are given to you for free, especially things that you don't have to work for. Imagine if everything was handed to you. What incentive would you have to do anything extra or beyond what you already currently do at that moment? So that's why it's bound to fail, just because it's not going to make society more productive. The people who are below that poverty threshold, because it said anybody making more than, I think, $50,000 qualifies basically in the form of poverty, definitely out in California. But if anybody falls below that threshold there, would basically have a little bit of leeway with $500 extra a month. But yet, if they are not able to be productive with what they have now and actually able to contribute more to society than what they're currently able to do now, I don't really see $500 making a difference. Other than for those that are smart, as I mentioned earlier in the video, they'll probably use that to either pay down their debt as best they can, or use that basically just to begin speculating or investing or whatever it might be called for you. So just my thoughts. But if given $500, I want to jump in some of the comments from that video earlier, because it was quite interesting as some of the remarks that people had of what they would do, of which a lot of it was just, I assume nonsense, because people talking about buying alcohol and prostitutes and stuff like that. So that's a little extreme. I would hope you would make that money work for you. I'm not sure if you say literally or figuratively. I'm sure you want that money to work for you, not someone to work for you in that regard. But everybody to their own. Says, where have you been? I haven't seen you on any chats. Who we got there? I've been working mainly. Politicians like communism, socialism, liberalism because it removes wealth and power from everyone but them. Pat, very true. Man, those are a lot of isms. Communism, socialism, and liberalism. But yet, depending on your school of thought, depending on who you ask and what demographic, what age group, those three words might be like curse words or words that people want to get out and rally about and fight over, just because, whole liberalism. This society is so loosey-goosey and so immoral nowadays. It amazes me at how accepting society has become towards everything. Like, there's no real moral backbone or fabric to our country anymore. The whole idea of removing God out of society itself plays into that, but just the idea that we have all the movements, we have the LBGT, we have the What else? What other movement out there? It's all types of movements that are just quite different. I mean, they're I would like to say the word abnormal, because it's being forced upon everyone to accept, and especially me being a parent. There's a lot of things that, you know, I have to now readdress in my household with my children, just because, you know, I'm concerned that we'll be out and about and see some things that completely is just ungodly. But, you know, if you say it too loud, you might get shouted down at. You might get yelled at. You might get called a bigot, or any type of word people want to use for describing people who tend to be more biblically based or conservative with their viewpoints. So, but that's just me. So let me get off. Let me find out what else is going on. I said, if they were given 500, most people would do the same thing they would do when they get their annual government penniage. Yeah, very true. A lot of people, unfortunately, man, would squander it, man. Like just the idea of getting something free sounds like a good thing on the surface, but yet it ain't gonna help people out. That's the thing. Like anytime, I think the money, if they're gonna borrow trillions or billions to fund these type of programs, the best thing would be to incentivize people to create and to innovate. I.e., you know, if you would get a certain amount of money, i.e., through this program, if you were to utilize your brain to create something of value for somebody else. So in other sense, you'll get X amount of dollars, 500,000, whatever it might be, but it has to go towards creating value for other people, i.e., to promote entrepreneurship. And so if you were incentivizing people to create and to use their mind in regards to adding value into the marketplace, then that could be an investment that down the line could be useful, because it might return some actual value from that debt in the form of creating ideas, new platforms, new businesses and things of that nature. But to just say, here go 500, go take this and do what you do, just doesn't work well with me at all. So I'm also at the current moment, you know, trying to stream from different places. So I'm streaming on Periscope right now. I'm streaming on Instagram. And so if anybody got any questions, make sure you log into the chat so that I can answer those questions, or you can share your thoughts with the community here. It says free money means rent is going up substantially. Yes. Yes, all those digits, all that paper are going to chase real tangible goods. So you can imagine that everything that you are used to acquiring in your weekly or monthly, cost of living, whether it be your grocery bill, your food bill, all the goods and services, lights, cable, everything has to go up now, because why? You have more paper chasing those finite amount of items. So it's going to be very inflationary. Yep, the whole idea of supply and demand. Yes, sir, definitely. So as always, the phone line is open, 1-888-833 live RTD. Feel free to call in. Let me cut my volume up. Might have missed some calls already. So as always, the phone lines are open. Feel free to chime in and share what's on your mind. I am definitely open to having people share their moment directly. So what I'm gonna do right now is basically I'm gonna go right to the let me see. I'm gonna go right to some of the comments. Go right to some of the comments from earlier video. So let me thumb through some of these things here. So it says Michael Racho said, I will buy silver each month. So definitely within a year's time frame, that'll be what, $6,000 that you would have given to you for free. Which, and I'm thinking about the idea of $6,000 doesn't really sound like a lot of money. It's not. $6,000 not a lot of funds at the end of the day. So it's like that really won't do much for anybody anyway. So you're gonna definitely need a job. And so it says here, good video. It says these officials need to be arrested on the spot. Our government has gone off the rails into communism. Very true. Excuse me, it says, very interesting question. What would poor people do with money? They would spend it. Tony Blaylock says, I sent you this a while ago. Yep, Tony, good, very true there. When you sent it to me, I did comment on it back in the day, but just came across it again because it's official now that in 2019 that it will be up and about. I think last time I mentioned it, it was in the works. And so at that time, Tony, when I mentioned it, or when you sent me that article, it was a matter of it was being proposed as something that Michael Tubbs, the mayor there, wanted to get into. I don't think there was any official plans until the co-founder of Facebook decided to fund it. with just $1 million. It says $500 a month does nothing for Stockton. It needs to be $500 a week just to eat and nothing else. It says they was going to put it, if they was going to do it for about 500 people. This only tells us where we are headed. It says it's a great idea for the government, but it adds to our already $22 trillion. Yeah, it's very true. And so we have one here, I'm assuming he's joking. He says, I was spending it all on blackjack and hookers. It says, watching for California class may help the rest of the states realize the dangers of socialism. So the only problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. Margaret Thatcher. Great quote. Great quote. Great quote. Says I would have them make $500 payments each month directly towards my student loan. Right. Sounds like a success penalty and a poverty reward. A success penalty and poverty reward. Very good one there. See, and that's the thing from the whole article there. The idea was that. How would you fund it on a national level? And they were saying basically anyone who makes more than $250,000 or has any capital gains, that money tax would go right towards the program. And so I'm thinking about this. If you were the individual making $250 or more, which are basically just high income earners, not really necessarily business owners, but just high income earners, those are the doctors, lawyers, people who, contribute the most and have a very fine niche type of skill set, ideally. Those individuals will be the one penalized. And so if you fall into that category, what are you going to do? You're going to accept the tax, or you're going to minimize your lifestyle, downgrade your lifestyle, or flip it over to some type of business where you'll live through your business and not receive that as actual income. Or worst case scenario, if you are sitting on a chunk of funds, you're just going to denounce your citizenship and say adios, more likely. So we would lose a lot of high income earners just off the fact that they're being taxed at 50%. They automatically gonna look to leave or make some adjustments with their taxation things and whatnot. Says I would spend the money on weed. Okay, he's investing in weed. Assuming you're gonna do something and flip that. Says I use the money to get my weight up, silver up. There you go, Delonzo Johnson. That's what I like that comment I saw earlier. I would get my weight up, meaning that he would acquire metal. So somebody says farmland. Said I would use my payments on crypto purchases. Isn't that plain? And then we got here, it says, you can sure be participant will be royally screened. I volunteer as an advocate for children in CPS to receive state and VATA. So some great, definitely some great feedback there from people. But as always, so we're going to keep on moving. I want to, let me see what else happening over here in the chat. What's happening in the chat. So in order for, I order silver and gold at least once a week. I've got a problem. Precious metal rehab. Yeah, longer. I mean, hey, you're getting your weight up. That's for sure. And I was also today I was doing some research into the recession, because I posted an article and I'll share it. And so let me do this real quick. I will share the article and I'll actually put it below. But it's from Jim Rickards, and it's about the idea of where we're at now, where the Fed has boxed themselves in the idea that not only are they talking about, 3 whatever more rate hikes this year, but they're doing it at a time where everyone else is looking to dial back, to ease more or need to ease more, and they're looking to tighten and unwind their balance sheet. So all these factors here don't really add up to where, according to him, he's saying that basically at the end of the day, in order to actually rescue an economy from a recession, it usually takes 300 to 500 basis points drop wise. And at that point, basically, we are nowhere near able to drop any lower than we already now at 1 point and a quarter or whatever it is. So basically, we're going to see negative rates or something of that nature, or negative rates or some type of instant stimulus or injection of funny money into the economy. Hence the idea of, as some people say, direct injection into the population, around the banking system, directly into the to the population by some form or another. So, but the article is very interesting. So I actually pull it right here, and so people can see it. And so it's called a recession is coming, and the Fed can't stop it. And so it has a little sad face here, but it's quite a lengthy article, but very detailed on the whole response to the last recession and how this next one, it's unavoidable. And it's a very, very good article. So I'll make sure to post that in the description of this video for those that may want to check it out. But definitely it's one of those things where you want to stay tuned and really begin finding out some of these details here, because I've really been big on the whole idea of the recession, the next recession. Like, I was thinking about this today, and as well as pulled up some old video news articles, and thinking about some of. I think I saw something about $16 trillion was wiped away from the financial portfolios of retirees or at that time people looking to enter into retirement, i.e. the baby boomers, as well as just your average everyday investor. And to think about the idea that this next market downturn or correction is not going to be an isolated event and that then trickles out to everywhere. It's going to be a globally systemic event that will just continue to expose how unsturdy and how rocky our economy was all along. It's going to really blow up all the band-aids that were placed on all of the issues our governments around the world have been facing, and it's going to hit every country's entitlements programs, Social Security, welfare, Medicaid, Medicare, all those programs. Every country around the world has their own socialistic program in the form of the government taking on the debt and passing off these freebies or goodies in the form of promises to the population. And so everyone is going to witness all that unraveling. And so I was basically thinking that this next market downturn or hiccup or recession is going to equal I was trying to think of a name to categorize it, but it's going to be a complete it's going to flush all the financial markets of any gain or any type of confidence whatsoever, because if 16 trillion was lost in the last Great Recession, and I want to say that some articles I read that said that since then the markets have recovered in actual nominal terms, roughly 2 or 3 trillion on top of what was lost. So approximately 19 trillion has been regained supposedly, but all that's been inflated artificial money, which the articles didn't mention. The fact that next time, if 16 was lost and it was an event that started in the U.S. and then trickled out everywhere else, this time it's going to be every country that's heavily indebted. Every developed country is going to experience this. So it's going to be multiple trillions, way more than 16 trillion of actual assets wiped away, gone. Like, just you look it up, the stock market, whatever it is, 24,000 points right now, can easily drop to some type of numbers that wipes away everything the people actually think they have, man. And the idea that is a real possibility. That's what people don't really realize. People think that it's not possible for the Dow to drop, half or 90%, 80%. Look what happened in the Great Recession. Look how much that little, I think it's 6,000 point or whatever it was, drop. How much damage that caused for all our markets. So much so now that pension funds are trying to play catch up. Pension funds are heavily in trouble. Every type of retirement vehicle is in trouble right now. You got hedge fund managers, money managers, venture capitalists all out here chasing yield. Even Ray Dalio from, I think it's Blackwater, I read an article earlier, hedge fund manager, biggest hedge fund operation on the planet. He's very concerned about what's happening. So when you got the man to handle the most money in the world talking about he concerned, he buying up gold left and right, it is definitely possible for everything to be reevaluated in a very unfavorable way for the public. So I'm gonna get off on that just because I can keep going for days. That stuff really, man. So we got said 265 trillion in derivatives will be reset. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with the derivatives, James, very good point with the derivatives. How do you reset derivatives? Like, that stuff is just bad. It's bad bets on the bank's behalf. Like, the banking sector, the financial institutions, in the form of investing or whatever they call it, have taken out all these hedges on different types of things, i.e. legalized gambling for the banks, to the point where they can't begin to pay that stuff back. It's going to be a complete devastation. It says emerging markets are currently collapsing. Yeah. Oh man, Shalon, that's a good one, man. Emerging markets, man, all of South America right now is crumbling. Argentina's hit issues, Brazil having issues, Ecuador having it, Nicaragua having issues. That's the thing. Like, this stuff is unavoidable, and it's spooky in a sense, but yet, like always, depending on how your angle you take it and what you're looking at, there's opportunity as well. It says, my husband's pension is in critical status. Yeah, that is very tragic. Speaking of pensions, I was just about to do an article yesterday on the Central State Fund. So the Central State Fund, or the Central Teamsters Fund, is like a Midwestern pension organization that has been apparently having problems for more than 20, probably 30 years. And so just to hear about all that as I was doing some research, you know, they are on the verge if there's no decision made by November, December by Congress, based upon this new committee that's been formed, they're going to have at least an 80-90% cut in benefits. So that if it affects 1 point something million people, so imagine, like, you're getting, I mean, people are getting benefits right now, but imagine getting a letter in the mail saying that, unfortunately, due to the Great Recession, we never fully recovered. We're still underfunded, and so we're going to have to cut your monthly monthly payout. And so I want to say the numbers was what was it? It was the number was already low, but the fact that cutting it more than half is like, okay, so you're going to have a whole generation of people, baby boomers, being forced to get back into the workforce, hoping that the position they left when they retired is still available, because since that time, if they've been retired for several years, they've acquired no new skills, more than likely may not be tech savvy. So you're going to have a lot of unemployed, a lot of potentially homeless individuals who are going to have to mortgage their house out, cash out their savings. The dominoes go on and on and on. Says Pat says Brazil tried to fix their problem, but their markets today show the fix did not work. I didn't find out about Brazil today. They didn't have to pay the death benefit, and they are fighting me on my funds. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's definitely nothing, not good news at all, man. So I really sympathize for the people who are experiencing currently and will experience more, because I believe, and as I really find out about these numbers, I really think that everybody will feel something. Now, the degree to which you feel it is all based upon a smidget of your preparation today, i.e. the idea of, like, financially, you're more than aware, I'm sure, that anything that's locked in the form of a digit or some type of promissory engagement between you and some second party entity will be canceled, renegotiated, reneged upon, just because they on that end, they're going to have problems living up to their promises, because the PBGC, which is the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, which is an insurance company that insures pension funds, they only have $2 billion worth of assets on their books, but yet the total amount of underfunded pensions today is $65 billion. So they are already in trouble. So all the insurance companies, in my opinion, will suffer some type of loss, because they, of course, the whole part of, insuring people is they take a risk in the law of averages, saying that we can insure 100,000 people for X amount of a small premium, but yet promise that if the housings or the whatever goes down, so the insurance companies are leveraged 10, 15 fold. So it's good to say that if all the insurance companies, if come time to collect on claims for whatever, they're gonna run into problems too. So excuse me. So yeah, it's it is what it is. But like always, the phone line is open. I haven't missed any calls, so if somebody want to call in, chime in, share their thoughts. Are there any people out there who may have a different approach as to how they would use that 500 from the UBI? Because I'm pretty confident to say that we will be given some form of a pacifier in the form of some payout as a part of this next injection that might come if we experience some type of immediate market downturn. So those are my opinions and thoughts, but it just seems like all that stuff could line up, because people are going to be destitute, especially you factor in the majority of the population now don't have $1,000 or whatever it is saved up for a rainy day. So that's more than half the population don't have a rainy day fund. Our government is insolvent already, so they're going to have to borrow, and then they're never in position to be able to cut any of their promises they made. So at the end of the day, it won't fare out well for anybody. It says Italy and France have the most exposure to DB. Yeah, Deutsche Bank. Oh my goodness. Deutsche Bank announces 10,000 layoffs and stocks that goes under $10 US. Yeah, man, that is real talk. Deutsche Bank, I would imagine, because there's so much pressure on them to try to stay afloat. They're not trying to, get back into good standing and good favor with the people. They're trying to just maintain for today. And I believe I read something that the Federal Reserve is in the process of helping and assisting and reevaluating, doing some stress tests for the bank, as if the stress test is going to show that they're strong. And, given the fact that those derivatives are worth more than all the Europe combined in nominal price. So, yeah. And another thing a lot of people are not aware of and don't pay much attention to is the fact that China has borrowed internally trillions upon trillions as a response to the Great Recession. And so that's all internal debt, but yet for every person's asset, there's a liability on the other side of that. So they're going to have to answer to a lot of savers or whatnot in their country, because everyone in China is buying real estate at astronomical prices as a hedge, as an insurance policy against their own currency and for their financial investments. Says, question, Mike, how will the rich survive the collapse? Very great question, Philman. Very great question. How will the rich survive? The rich will, of course, in my opinion, those that are well off, the billionaires, the 100 millionaires, they own tangible and assets that the world needs. So, for example, a lot of people, I imagine, own physical businesses that supply goods, services, electrical company, water, oil, whatever the population as a whole needs. A lot of wealthy people own a lot of that stuff. So it's good to say that you can, if you got 300, if you got millions upon millions sitting around, it's good to say that you'll probably invest in some type of art, go buy some land, go buy a farm, go buy something that through a crisis, through some type of hiccup, even though commerce may stop, but it's still producing and people are going to need it. So the rich will buy things that people need. And then as far as just a way of protecting their assets outside of their, actual land and things of that nature, I hear artwork, gold, diamonds, all types of things that retain value as things begin to unfold and unravel. So that's what I believe most people are doing that are well off. Says, can I get an incentive too? The rich are never hurt. They will go into metals, art, and other things. Yeah. Says, if you like the content, don't forget to honor RTD by tapping the like button. Oh, hey, Kent, man, I appreciate you, dog. Thank you. As always, thumbs up. And then, of course, share this information. So the goal is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 9:30-ish, we'll be on here live. So tomorrow night, I'm telling you now, tomorrow night we'll be on here. Invite a friend. I challenge you to invite a friend, someone who might need some convincing, someone who might want to call in and ask a question. We'll be here. And as always, we have a great community that loves to chime in and answer questions. So it'll be a great opportunity for everybody to get together. Says the rich buy gold. What else you got? He says, I sent it to my grandma to Mexico. Yeah. Every bank is tied to the Dutch bank and derivatives. A lot of rich people are buying things like farms in Chile. Yeah. Yeah, man. Land. So I was actually thinking about the idea that I haven't really checked into it much, but being from Detroit, knowing the city is basically vacant, I'm thinking about like looking into buying just a lot of vacant lots, because where I grew up at, there's nothing but land. But years ago, some investors came through and bought up everything that was, abandoned or broken down or torn down. So I would imagine it's not much affordable, cheap land that's available, but it's stuff that I definitely am interested in checking in on myself. So as we draw towards the end of our conversation, I haven't had a caller, but I'm not mad. It's been great to get some questions directly from everybody. So as I leave you guys tonight, apart from my phone ringing, anybody want to call in, feel free to do so. We can extend the program a little bit longer, because I do enjoy having a chance to chat and connect with people directly. So as always, over my shoulder here, I have a couple things I want to just point your attention to. Webinar, Dollarcation. I think that everyone needs a thorough Dollarcation, so I'm going to be working on that officially by end of June. I'm putting my word out there. By the end of June, I'm going to have the webinar ready, and it's going to be just a actual. I'm trying to make it like a classroom setting environment where PowerPoints go through some things, and because I love studying history, I want to try to find some nuts and bolts that most people may not be aware of and just share it in a timeline fashion to pinpoint how we've arrived to this point, what we can expect for the future, and how to really sustain and to take advantage of the opportunity that's right now. Like, I think that at the end of the day, you know, I don't pay attention to price of many things, but just right now, I tell people all the time that right now it's the cheapest that it's going to be for the next foreseeable future. So right now, anything that looks like it has the potential to retain value or to gain value, you might want to look into it. You know, and don't never think anything is too small or too stupid or too dumb to consider it, because, you know, when stuff hits the fan, hell, a can of beans can get you or be exchanged for something of extreme value if someone on the other side wants it. So then I got the book here, Recession. Find out what's before the next recession. I now talk about the idea that the next recession, this one is coming up, might be your last, because after that it's going to be a restructuring or a reset. Just because the response from the next monetary policy will be a currency implosion. Because the only thing governments can do is borrow, and the only thing central banks can do is print. So you put those two factors together, it's going to be a loss of confidence altogether. Connect with me on Twitter, as well as also got about another week or so for this silver giveaway here. So if you have not, make sure you click the link below. I'm going to put the link here shortly. But other than that, it gives you a chance to help share the word of Rethinking the Dollar, as well as get a little silver in your hands for the person that wins. It says home prices in Long Beach are $4 million on average. Wow. Buy minors with some of your funds. Do your own due diligence. Pat, good advice there. That's the thing is. Also, this whole channel, everything here is all, I put a disclaimer in one of my little Instagram videos saying that all the information shared is not financial advice. It's just monetary awareness. That's it. So prove me wrong. Do your own homework. Definitely take everything I'm saying as I'm lying until you go prove it for yourself. And so I want to make sure everybody is informed. I don't like to give advice or information. That's why I don't like to share, you know, what I do directly, other than just say these are some options and some solutions, because I don't want people to say that I'm up here giving advice when I'm not. I'm just sharing, helping you become more monetarily aware. So other than that, looks like we will draw and bring this thing to a conclusion. It's been real, people. See you tomorrow night, 9:30-ish. Tell a friend, and let's see. So we had about 50 or so viewers tonight. Let's try to get it up to 100. Anybody out there willing to help me get this up to 100 viewers tomorrow would be a blessing. So share it with your friends, share it on Facebook, and other than that, tomorrow 9:30-ish. And I'll make a video, like a YouTube video tomorrow morning, that if people want to share that, that'll be the link to tomorrow's night discussion. So other than that, everybody be good, enjoy your night, and definitely see you guys tomorrow night. And if you come across any news worthwhile, email me, go to Facebook and send me a direct message, or email me from the rethinkingthedollar.com website, because I'd love to do a video about it as I find out more information. So enjoy your night, be safe, and have fun.